My name's Pete Wallingford. I'm the Vice President and co-owner of Wallingford Financial Services. My wife and I have developed a program called the Future Vision program, basically, to help individuals build their core personal and financial strength so they can achieve their dreams.
So how do you define success?
Well, success, as I've described in many confrontations with a lot of people, is the result of a lifelong effort to pursue your passions. And when you're young, if given the opportunity, and thank God for parents, nurturing parents and grandparents, that give us the opportunity to help us nurture our passions, we get one, whatever that is, whether it's softball or soccer or art or whatever it is. And what happens then is that when you have one passion and you stick with it, and then you can stack another one on top of it, and then another one, what happens is it's a progressive nature, and as time goes on, when given new opportunities, you simply hold on to the things that you're good at, that you love to do, and before you know it, success starts to happen. You can talk about short-term success or long-term success. We can go on infinitum about all the different definitions of success. But, to me personally, and I'm going to check some of my notes here, it's the feeling, it's not only the result of sequentially stacking passions, but it's the feeling one gets when looking back in time and you feel good inside about what you've accomplished. There's two different things here, right? It's actual, and then being able to acknowledge that you've been successful, which is great for the soul. Like raising kids, as I told you about. Just awesome stuff, okay? That's what success is.
Where did your inspiration come from?
Well, the inspiration that I have now for Wallingford Financial Services stem from my wife, Carrie. Having been in many different businesses prior to this, and I know that this presentation tonight is about what I'm doing now, and the only reason I'm here is because of those previous passions. My wife's passion has been to help people with their finances, college planning, higher education needs, getting people out of debt, helping people with their healthcare needs. Very important stuff. I was fortunate enough to marry a financial genius, someone that's full of love, a good Christian girl, and that is as passionate as I've ever been about anything that I've ever done in my life. And I didn't know all these things. I got lucky, I guess, but I knew that there was something special about Carrie when I met her. And while I was pursuing my own passions, which is very important in life, and Carrie was pursuing hers, which is very important, that, when your counterpart has the opportunity to do that, and raising kids at the same time, that's just real special. But when it comes down to it, somebody's got to give up the deal. Somebody's deal's got to work better than the other. And if you compare the needs for people in our industry in the Washington Pacific Northwest, and you compare their needs for financial, healthcare, personal growth, all the things that people need, the human syndrome, what it is that people need, Carrie wins out every time. I'm talking about saving coral reefs and helping to save the lives of scuba divers around the world, which is very important to me and still is. And fortunately, I still have my companies that are teaching people as we speak 24 hours a day, which is great. It helps me sleep at night, knowing that that is a success. It's not just about money. But what my wife has done with Wallingford Financial Services and college planning is an absolute brilliant approach to helping people on a day-to-day basis. She's a doctor of finance, and she has motivated me to come into the business. She motivated me subtly. It wasn't anything where I have to do it, but I became well educated in this industry. I've studied what she's done over the last 15 years, and I've become well skilled in marketing and passing on the word of how we can improve our lives financially and personally, achieve our dreams. She's the one that's motivated me. She's my inspiration.
How did you move from idea to something actually succeeding in the marketplace?
Carrie astutely wanted to make sure that when she got into any kind of business as a young woman, she wanted to make sure that this was something that she could carry on even when she had children and as she got older. Bingo. It was insurance at first, finance, and she grew her business. She continued her education and never quit. And that is how it grew into where it is now and today. And together, we make a pretty good team, from marketing and sales and education to where we are a very successful firm in the marketplace right now.
If it makes
Success is a long-term thing, and not everybody is ready to go right into finance.
Sure.
Let's face it. I mean, my father was in finance. He was a banker in New York. My grandfather was an insurance man, a lobbyist for the insurance industry in New York. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. They sent me to pasture. I was an adventurer, salvage diver, adventure motorcycler. I did all these things. I pursued my passions. But then I quickly got into business, built it up, and I learned what makes sense. And having gone through and designed educational programs, this one in particular that you spoke of, the Diamond Reef System for the diving industry, was important to me. It was what was important to do at the time. I mean, I was a diver, so then I became an educator. I became a commercial diver. I got into commercial diving. I was very successful. So it's one passion after another. Important things. And that when my wife brought up, and when we learned about how this financial services and college planning could affect the lives of young children, not just their parents, but educate them on what money really is.
How did you organize your team?
In my diving business, because the diving industry is rather small, I went the route of contract labor. Because this was, as an entrepreneur, when you have a new idea, you have to watch your budget. You have to be lean and mean. You have to make sure that your idea works. You have to continue to learn and grow. And so I assembled accountants, marketers, anybody I could, because when you reach out in the marketplace, there are a lot of people that are going to help you that don't have to be paid. They'd like to get paid down the road with your success. So when entrepreneurs, at least in my day, had a great idea, you could start talking to people. You're always deathly afraid that somebody's going to steal your idea. So you have to tiptoe around it. So from a financial standpoint, it was all contract labor. If I had to get some accounting done, I'd do that. If I had to get a marketing guy or a printer, sudden printing, contract labor, right? I'd go in, I'd make the brochures, I hired a company to help manufacture an underwater obstacle course. Basically, I reinvented the hula hoop, which is not possible. I was recognized by the Rolex company. I was given a Rolex Award for Enterprise and published in a wonderful text that they produce every few years for people that have just outrageous ideas that can help the environment and help people. So, and that just like, in terms of motivating me to go somewhere, you know, that was huge. In terms of the team, you have to do what you can afford. You have to bring in people that have expertise that you don't. And you have to be very wary of thinking that you can do it by yourself. You can, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a roaring success. And very importantly, when you start bringing in other people, that means there's no question you have to bring in people that are smarter than you. And when it comes down to it, they're going to want you to write a business plan. And that was probably one of my weakest points. You know, I said, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I've got a business plan. No, you needed to spend the money to have it done professionally. Otherwise, it's not worthwhile. Those of you watching this video, a business plan is 2 semesters of hard work. And it's not worth going into business unless you understand how to write a business plan. And upgrade it almost monthly as you go along, because things change.
If you could have, what would you have done differently?
Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Because I am very, very happy where I am right now. If I was to look back on my Diamond Reef program, this environmental diver safety program that I developed for the world diving industry, you look back and you go, gee, I wish I had had a crystal ball in order to figure out the things that come out of nowhere. They do. They come out of nowhere, and they'll take your concept, and all of a sudden it's kind of like, wow, what I did, what I'm creating here will negatively affect this company who I thought was my friend, but it could potentially cut into their revenues, and all of a sudden, they're not that friendly anymore. And when you're bringing a concept and you're an entrepreneur, you have to be ready for battle. This is serious business. This is real war. This is not pussyfooting around because they will eat your lunch. We're talking about companies that are worth millions of dollars, that have thousands of staff members around the world. And if you come up with a concept that will embarrass them, that will prove that they're worthless, which in many cases the Diamond Reef system did for the diving industry, because it's a pure objective test of skill, like a traffic cone for motorcyclers. You're either good or you're not. If you keep crashing into traffic cones, you shouldn't get a license. If you keep crashing into these beautiful hover stations, this Diamond Reef system that you can look up on the Facebook, if you keep crashing into those things, you really shouldn't be diving anywhere near coral reefs, because they're so fragile. One swipe with a swim fin, you'll destroy what could have taken thousands of years to grow.
What makes a great entrepreneur?
A great entrepreneur, you have to be passionate. You have to be timeless. And being an entrepreneur, some people say, well, you have to be incredibly greedy. You have to be incredibly selfish. You know, I'm all about passion, stacking passions. Being an entrepreneur, in my mind, in my heart and soul, a true entrepreneur is somebody who, from their heart, believes in improving a concept, reinventing the wheel, helping people, helping the environment, doing something positive. Yes, we're all going to say, well, I'm going to get tremendous positive response back, which is important for the human condition. To get positive response, boy, gee, if I did that, oh, geez, everybody would like me. Well, that's going to be there. That's important. I always wanted to be a good boy for my mom. So, maybe helping to preserve the environment and save lives was something that was, vital. Somebody just continues to pursue their passion and never quit, and never stop opening up new doors, and never stop learning, because there's always something smarter. And as I've written and spoken to others about, it's a 24-hour day job. I would wake up in the middle of the night, I've got a pad on the floor, and I would turn on the light. I would have a little light, my little reading light. My wife would give me a bad time, but I'd start writing feverishly. I'd always have a pad of paper. I'm always taking notes. If you're not taking notes, there are these fleeting ideas that come and go, and we'll kick yourself if you didn't write it down, because it's not going to come back. It doesn't always come back.
That's true. What role did education have in your success?
As far as I'm concerned, it was vital in helping me be successful in the diving business and the financial services business. If I wasn't well educated, I suspect I would have been successful in whatever I did, because of my passions, because of my parents and my grandparents who helped nurture me and were there for me to say, hey, go for it. Go for it. You love it, go for it. Because if you do what you love and never quit, you're going to be successful. Now, education helped narrow down the possibilities for me. Oceanography and business is what I was big on in college in Florida. Finance was my weakest program, weakest course. Teachers were horrible, wasn't motivating, didn't work. But it was one of those things, it was kind of like from my dad and my granddad that were all involved. But then as time came around and I saw how it could help save the lives of people, so long as they better understood how money works and help fulfill their dreams. That's what's most important to me.
What is the most important question we didn't ask you and your answer to that?
I wrote here, if you no longer have your first company, how did your experience help you in what you're doing now? Because entrepreneurs don't do just one deal. It's a lifestyle. Now, there are some that are ruthless. Mine, I just live by the heart and soul. I'm kind of a laid-back guy, and I just like helping people, and I'm so passionate about special things that I can be busy like right here, right now. But in terms of how important it is, important question you fail to ask. You guys didn't ask me, if you no longer have your first company, how did your experience help you in what you're doing now? And I have to speak of, the Diamond Reef program, how I learned in the field, amazing communication skills, market research, how people thrive. You learn about life as you go along. It's all cumulative. You can't just, a lot of people, there are a lot of people out there that get lucky. They hit the big time. Boom, bing, bang. It took Gates, it took those guys, 20 some odd years to be as successful. I was hoping that the Diamond Reef program would have done that for the diving industry that the computer did, for the general public. It was that big. Unfortunately, it didn't work. But, many great ideas and inventions never come to fruition because of a lack of mismanagement or funding and ignorance of how money works. I learned that by watching the successes and failures in this one tiny industry, in the diving industry. So then, when I started watching what Carrie was doing and started to learn more about finance and education and watched her success rate, and then learn new concepts about how we can affect children's lives, how they can learn so much now as a young person before they fall into the traps and the trappings, that we fall into when we're older. I wouldn't have learned that if I hadn't had those past experiences. Watching dive shops go broke, watching people go out of business and having problems. It's vital. It's all about the stacking experience, stacking passions, following your passions to follow your dreams, and then remembering, because if you don't remember, if you don't take notes, just forget it. Go drink a beer. Memory is everything. If you don't have a memory, if you can't remember, if you can't build on experiences, you have nothing. But if you can remember and build on these experiences, it undoubtedly will take you where, you want to go. And it's an ongoing process. It never stops, never quit.